You're listening to Greetings from Austin. I'm Alisa.
And I'm Jenny.
We're here to share all things lifestyle, real estate, design, and more.
As Austin natives and agents with combined 28 years experience, we're excited to bring you new episodes weekly.
Thanks for joining us today. We're joined today by our special guest, Leslie Misman with AmeriSurveyors LLC. They are a full-service professional surveying firm headquartered in San Antonio, Texas, serving areas throughout South, Central, and North Texas. We're excited to have Leslie with us today for a crash course on surveys.
Hi, thank you for inviting me today in your podcast. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, thank you for coming.
Yeah, thanks so much for being here today and chat with us about surveys and sharing your experiences and knowledge. So to start off, can you tell us a little more about yourself and AmeriSurveyors?
Well, AmeriSurveyors has been established since 2008, and as you said in the beginning, that we service San Antonio, Austin, Dallas, and surrounding areas since then. We are actually a 24-hour operation, so the only days that we shut is actually Saturdays. So we have a full team of ground operation team. They're basically our survey crews that go out and collect the field data. And then we have the research team, drafting team, final reviewers, and RPLS's team, as well as the customer service team. So whatever work that we do during the day, it's being drafted, researched, and analyzed when we're all asleep.
Wow.
So this is just in keeping, with the demand on, fast closing and fast turnaround time to accommodate, your closing needs. So there is no delayed in your closing due to, need of land survey.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as me, I've been with the company since 2016. I'm the sales and marketing director. As a company, AmeriSurveyors is really passionate about knowledge. We believe that we are a firm believer of knowledge is power. So not only we constantly educating ourselves by making sure that we are up to date with the current trend, current technology. We are also actively educating our clients, first-time home buyers, realtors, title companies, lenders on land surveys. And
builders.
And builders, yes.
You've educated me a lot.
So I'm actually a licensed instructor of two of my classes are TREC approved for CE classes. I've been doing that since 2018. So yeah, that's a little bit about us.
That's awesome.
Well, about your turn times, I can speak out of experience. I had no idea you guys were a 24-hour operation,
Yes,
but it makes total sense because you guys are the fastest surveyors I've ever worked with, and that's from 22 years of being real estate sales, and then many years of being a builder as well. So y'all give great service and just really fast turn times.
Yeah, we take really pride on that. My background is actually client care before I joined AmeriSurveyors. So it was really important for me to join my next venture with a company that actually cares about their client quality as much as they care about the quality of the product that they produce. So when I saw the whole workflow and ideas of how they operate their business and the reasoning behind, their decision on how the operations need to happen, I was like, I'm sold. Let's do this.
Yeah, and do other surveyor companies even have a client care?
Oh, I
person?
don't know.
Okay, I've never heard of that position in a survey company, but it's amazing to have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you kind of already went into the timeline a little bit, but can you tell us a little bit more about what people could expect when working with AmeriSurveyors, the process, the timeline, whether they're buying a home or maybe just need a survey for putting up a new fence or something like
Putting
that?
up a new fence. So, in my humble opinion, purchasing a home for most people would be one of the biggest investments in their life. So it is really important for you to partner up with the right people, from the right realtors, the right inspectors, and the right surveyors. And land survey in particular is really crucial because it is basically an insurance for the next 10 years. If in the event that you have any legal dispute with your neighbors, you don't have to spend your own money to actually hire a lawyer to define your property boundary. We do that for you. So the processes would be, when the order comes in, normally we receive the orders online or via email. It goes straight to research. So our research team get on it, and then overnight, then the jobs would be allocated to specific crews, depending on their location, also skill set. And then comes morning time. They are normally starting pretty early. Morning time, then they start their field work. So one person could actually have probably 3 to 5 jobs per day. And then once they're done with the work during the day, they then send the data to our drafters. Our drafters start working on it, and as well as our research team, to make sure that any documents pertaining to our subject lot is actually being pulled for our RPLS and final reviewers to review the following day. So if everything goes okay, our RPLS review and there's nothing, alarming, and all the restrictive covenants have been addressed, all the Schedule A and B have been addressed, then the survey would get approved. And once it gets approved, it would be sent automatically to whoever requested or whoever pays for the survey. The whole process could take about probably 1 to 2 days if the sun is shining and there's no crazy neighbors, there's no lock gates or dogs. But sometimes it can take longer if the property is a bit challenging to survey.
What would you consider challenging?
Ooh, when we cannot find or there are not enough pins or monumentations on the ground, that would be challenging. Meaning that not only we have to, because when we are hired to survey any property, not only we have to locate our property corners, the property that we are surveying for, but also the neighbors to the left, the neighbors to the right, and often across the street and behind our lot. The reason for it is to cross-check, basically, to ensure that the boundaries actually match with what's recorded or close to what's recorded, and there's nobody actually losing land or gaining any land because of that. So if there are no iron rods located, then meaning that our crews would now need to locate more pins on the adjoining lots. So that can be challenging because sometimes, people wouldn't give them access to their backyard.
And so there's pins in the ground already on these areas, and y'all are going off of those?
Yes. If it is newer subdivision, when I say newer, 1985 or newer, they do make that a rule that iron rods must be set in the ground when you're building a subdivision. But any older ones, that's the one that actually really quite challenging because sometimes they're not in the ground anymore. So,
and how deep down are they?
It's about half a foot.
Okay.
It's not really that deep. That's why sometimes people can pull it and
not
remove
know
it.
what it is.
Yeah, because they don't know what it is. Yeah.
Oh, it makes sense.
Yeah.
So interesting to me.
So why is a survey required when purchasing a home?
Well, it is not required if you have cash, although if it is cash purchase, a survey is not required. Although, in my humble opinion, it is a risky thing, for you to do. If there's a title companies or lenders involved in the transaction, they would want a survey, whether it's a previous survey or a brand new survey to the property, because number one, they want to make sure that the legal description of the property is actually what it says it is. That's number one. Number two, to see whether the structure is actually built away from any setbacks, easements, etc., and then built properly, and there's no any illegal building on the subject lot. Number three, if there are any encroachments that perhaps were not declared on T47, that due to the owners actually build it without a permit, or the neighbors probably, build it without a permit closer to our boundary. So, and then also number four, to know exactly the square footage of the land, how much land that the property has.
To know what you're buying, right?
Yes, to know what you're buying, exactly.
So at what point or for every purchase do you recommend a new survey, or when there's an existing one, what are the parameters?
That is such a good question. So what everybody must be aware is that our statute of limitation is 10 years. 10 years meaning that per Texas Board of Professional Engineers and Land Surveyors, we are required to stand by our boundary findings for the next 10 years. Meaning that if anybody actually contested to say that, your survey is incorrect, and we have the duty to address that and give an answer as to how we concluded the boundary. So if you're given a survey older than 10 years, then even though the title companies and the lenders accepted, the underwriters accepted the previous survey, yes, it is a cost saving for you, but in the event that there's a dispute or there's a problem with the property boundary, you are not able to ask for assistance from the land surveying company.
So what about for the people who, they didn't actually purchase the survey, they're getting it from someone else? You still stand by your survey for someone that didn't purchase it?
We do, but that is such a good question. We do. But this is the catch, that I notice it quite often these days. Some surveying companies actually do put notations on their survey to say that this survey is produced and to be used solely for Leslie Misman. And basically, if say that I purchased the property 5 years ago and I have a survey, and then Jenny purchased my property and closed with my survey, and then you have problems with your neighbor, and you call the surveying company saying that, hey, can you come and mark my property boundaries because my neighbor said that my fence is encroaching. Oh, the surveying company could say, we didn't do the survey for you. We didn't certify the survey to Jenny. We certified the survey to Leslie. I've seen that practice before. So even though we have to stand by our survey for the next 10 years, TB-PELs, the Texas Board of Professional Engineers and Land Surveyors, do not govern on how we conduct our business.
That's interesting. I had no idea.
Yeah. Yes. So when you receive your survey, you make sure you see whether or not there is any restrictive language like that, because there are some that actually have that kind of language.
I have another question on the same topic.
Okay.
I've also heard that that's one case where they just say, no, you're not the person that we did the survey for. We're not doing that. I've also heard that they consider it that you shouldn't be using it at all because it wasn't done for you, and it can only be used almost like a copyright on like our listing photography. We're not supposed to use it, for forever. We're supposed to use it for a certain time frame, or ultimately the copyright ultimately the ownership of it remains with that photographer. So that I've seen that the surveys are doing the same thing. Have you seen that at all?
I have seen that, yes. But the copyrights on our survey, we do put our copyrights. That's solely to protect the data that we collect, our logo, the seal and signature of our RPLSs, so that it cannot be manipulated to your benefit. I'm going to give you an example, and this is a real example. It just happened last week. The fact that we did boundary surveys for 3 properties, okay, and the boundary surveys were signed off by one of our RPLSs who sadly passed away last year. We were approached by a title company and last week and said that, did you guys, they sent us an attachment, and they asked whether or not we actually put forward something to the city for permitting purposes, and whether or not we had any documentations to to actually to actually change the legal descriptions to basically be the same as what they could see on the survey that they saw. I opened the attachment. This property owner had created a condo plat using our survey, using our boundary survey. So he had put 2 structures. Basically, he probably hired somebody to draw 2 structures on each lot and created a condo plat.
Using your survey.
Using our survey, using our boundary survey with our RPLS's seal and signature.
Okay.
And he managed to get a permit from the city as well and get 911 address. So the reason why title company approached us, because the legal description of the property essentially defines the property boundary. Okay, so if the legal description is calling for lot 10, it's the whole of lot 10, right? That's how we have to depict it. But this property has 2 separate buildings, 2 separate homes, and it's a condo plat. So it has limited common element and general common element. It clearly said that. So they were like wanting to know whether or not we had that condo plat somehow that they could actually forward. And I said,
we didn't do it.
This survey is forged. That's what I said to them. So we had to actually inform our legal team.
Wow. So
that's solely to protect that, not to prevent you from reusing it.
Okay. At least for you guys.
The developer was trying to use that forged survey to sell the property?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
So how do you feel then about, like, so sometimes I've closed on properties with clients before. There's an additional structure, like a porch or something that's added on, and title says, just go ahead and draw the lines of where it is.
I actually heard about that.
You have?
I had heard about that. Oh my God.
So
why?
Not supposed to do that?
No, you're not supposed to do that.
Done very often.
It's done all the time.
Are you serious?
Absolutely.
Why? See, if you want to save,
I don't know.
As a buyer, if you're the buyer, would you buy something with the handwritten, hand drawn by anybody who thinks that they draw it correctly?
Personally, I would always get a new survey. So I would say no, and I do encourage my clients to do the same, but sometimes they don't want to.
And we have a form within our company that we have to have every buyer sign. It says get a new survey.
Yeah.
But many times, when there's a newer survey, If it's a deck or something that's really far away from any property lines or any other lines, that's one thing. But
they just hand drawing.
Yeah.
So the thing is, if the previous survey was done in less than 10 years, the buyers could actually to save money, they could get a survey update. That's the minimum that you should do.
Okay.
A survey update would actually be, certified to the buyers only. And the certification date would then start from the date that the update has been completed, basically. That should actually be cheaper than having a brand new survey done.
Okay.
Would you say most companies will do that, though?
They have to.
Do they?
If you go to the same company that did it.
If you go to the same company, yes. You just need to ask, I need a survey update.
I have found, I feel like I've tried to do that before, and the cost really wasn't different.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't know.
Probably because of the improvements.
You're saying within 10 years?
Within 10 years, yes.
Okay.
If it is past 10 years, then it has to be considered as a brand new survey.
Okay.
And because it has passed our statute of limitation, although we normally put it as well for audit trail purposes that, we visited, this property 12 years ago, and then now this is a brand new survey. So the certification date would start from that new date, basically. But if I were the buyers, I wanted to save some money, get it recertified to my name, and then get a survey update with the same companies that actually issued the survey previously.
Okay.
At least.
Yeah, at a minimum.
We're all just learning so much.
I know.
This is great.
After being in the business a long time.
It's tough. It's one of those things. It's like we're all kind of in our own little court, and then titles in the middle.
Yes.
And they have different opinions on things.
Yes.
So,
but you know what?
We want to protect our clients most of all.
That's true. And in all fairness, not many people take land survey seriously because they only see a piece of paper.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So there's no value to for some people to have our service. But when the problem comes,
then they see the value.
Yeah.
Then they see the value. I've seen where clients wanted to save money to purchase a boundary survey elsewhere, and they find out that the land survey that they hired, at the beginning, they are not able to do specialized services like tree, topo, etc. So they have to come to us, and then we have to do the boundary. And then most people don't understand that we cannot go off someone else's boundary to do additional work. So I think you had experienced that, and I actually advise you just go with some, with the previous one to save you, money if they could actually do additional services. So
Very
Oh,
interesting.
So what does a boundary survey mean?
So a boundary survey is a survey of a vacant land. So if you're purchasing a vacant lot for building a home or placing your mobile home, basically it is to define the property corners, where the property corners are. It should also include any recorded covenants, setback easements, and if there's any utilities on site, it's already installed, then we have to depict those as well.
And so vacant land is boundary survey. What is it called when it has a house on it?
Final as built survey.
Even if it's a resale, it's a final as built.
Yeah.
Okay.
Final as built survey.
So when I ordered my survey back here, I messed up on my order by making you think it was vacant land, and and there was a little house.
It wasn't showing though on Google, so we relied on Google so much, and then our crew also there was that miscommunication as well. Our crew didn't mention that there's a big house here, Leslie. Do you want us to depict it? No, he just went silent, and then all of a sudden, when I checked the pictures, I said, hey, "Wait a minute, there's a house here."
Yeah. Well, I think it was on the back lot where I was like, where's the driveway? Where's the little house? And only just so we could use that to know where things were and where to measure
we
from.
were supposed to do that. And then that was a miscommunication. And then I actually had to tell the crew, I said, how could you not tell me this? He said, oh, because the work order said boundary. And I said, because we could see the house in the Google aerial view. So when the client said it's boundary survey, we just think that they just need to know the boundary of the land. But if there's a house visible on aerial view, we would ask, okay, I see a house. Do you not want us to depict it, or you just want the boundary? Because some people do the boundary survey just for, fencing purposes, or if they want to get a permit done on the other side of the property, so they don't need the other structures to be depicted. That was a miscommunication.
Or if they're going to tear down and they just,
yes,
we do plan to tear down, but like to know where the road is and all of that, to where to put everything.
Yes,
was helpful.
But he was like, I was so confused. Is this because sometimes pictures get uploaded onto the wrong job too. So I was asking my research team, are these the correct pictures? They're like, yes, these are the correct pictures. So I had to call the crew, and they said, yes, there's a big house, but you told me it was just the boundary.
Well, thank you for always making it right. There's always going to be miscommunication, right?
Yeah,
not always, but
yep.
Like Google just needs to update their aerial view. It's
I
really
know.
Google school here.
It's so difficult because sometimes a property could be half an acre.
Yeah.
But if the property owner built on every single inch of the land, then it's not going to be a standard fee, right?
Yeah.
So we wouldn't be able to see it until we send our crew there. So, but once we quoted a rate, we normally wouldn't charge, additional, because essentially, it has to come from our crew too to preempt us. Hey, there's more improvements than what you saw on Google.
Yeah.
So,
wow,
that's awesome that you stick to your word on your price. Okay, so why do you need a copy of the title policy in order to do a full survey?
Well, we don't need to, if we want to start a land survey order, we don't need a title policy to do that. We do our own research too. However, title commitment does have a comprehensive list of documents and setbacks, easements, or any agreement related to the subject property. So it is a really important piece. What we care about is Schedule A and B. What our job is to make sure that we address whatever it is listed on Schedule A, and whether the legal description match with what we found through our research, and then whatever it is on Schedule B. Because often often, if the document is not being labeled, say the way we do our research is we pulled up the owner's name, subdivision name, the legal description of the property. If the document is not actually labeled as that, then we wouldn't be able to catch that. But title company would have the resources to actually catch something particular like that.
So it seems to me like it'd be best to have a title commitment,
yes,
right? Just
absolutely.
Because I know in that lot that we were, having subdivided,
yes,
we did have a situation, where something was not on the original survey, and then it came back, and it showed up on the other survey maybe, but it was a big deal.
Yes,
and
it was.
Had we had the title policy, it did mention it was a spring easement.
Yes, and you had to get that vacated, no?
We did.
Yeah,
and thank God we were able to, because it would have made the lot unbuildable where we wanted to build. It would have still been buildable, but we would have had to build the house on the cliff. Where there was just one level area where I want to build the house, and that spring easement went right through it.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, just having, now I've learned, I think having the title policy,
all
the extra information is better, right?
At the end of the day, it's to protect the buyers. No?
Yeah. Yeah.
It really is to protect the buyers. Title policy, inspection, survey, you name it. It's to protect your investment, basically.
Yeah,
absolutely.
If sometimes, as I said, title policy would have that comprehensive list of documents that are related to our property. So that's
and
really
I
important.
did. I guess it was the confusion of it with the title company. I did ask them initially, "Hey, I would like the title policy," because it was in the middle of a subdividing process. They did not provide it to me. But I should have just gotten the full lot, the full title. They should have sent that to me. But anyways, and maybe it's something I missed. I'm not sure, but.
How did that go though? How is it still going there?
Yeah, we haven't started building on it yet. We're working on we're finishing plans.
It is really beautiful because it's up the cliff. Because I saw the pictures, I'm like, wow, this is gonna be such a beautiful home.
When it's done, it'll be beautiful. It'll be very hard to build. Getting all the trucks up and down that hill.
Hey, you did it here, and I don't think this is super easy.
It's going to be a lot harder than this, actually.
No, it is. It is because I saw the pictures. I'm like, how is she going to build that? And then the terrain is crazy as well.
Yeah,
but it's going to be beautiful.
And those guys just pull the trucks in. I mean, some of them act like it's no big deal, right? And then others are like,
I had an 18-wheeler up here the other day. He calls me at the gate. Am I going to be okay? I'm like, yep, come on up.
And then the septic system and all that, you have to, oh my gosh.
It's going to be okay. I might have a lot more gray, but it'll be okay.
But it's going to be.
I'll figure out.
It's going to be an amazing view house.
Yeah.
The view is just absolutely beautiful. And the guys who actually went there, they were like, do you know how much drop it is from top to bottom? I said, did you fall? It's like at least 80 feet. Do you know that?
Oh my gosh.
Okay. Well, I have my work cut out for me.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was telling her yesterday I fell at my job site I was fine, but I fell in the dirt and it was like really dry dirt and I had it all over my hands. I had a white jacket on. I mean, I had paperwork. It just so and the topography is not so bad on this lot I'm working on now, but that'll be fun.
So how many projects do you have now?
Well, I'm wrapping up just the details on this one, and then I have my Ean School Road, which I'm underway, very far, and I'll have to show you pictures. And then we have that lot that I'm gonna finish this house on Ean School Road, and then I'm gonna start the other one.
Oh, wow. I need to show you the survey of one of the properties that we did, Westlake Hills as well. It's by Basin Ledge.
Wild Basin Ledge.
Yes. And so this property is actually situated up on the hill.
Yeah.
It's a 5-acre lot, but it consists of multiple tracks, and it's like this, literally. Like, I'm like, who lives here? It's crazy.
So that's Westlake Hills is like that. So the lot that I have that I'm going to build on is not really awful. There's much, not the most complicated. There's much worse.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
But land is like gold there.
Yes, it is. It is. And the neighborhood is very amazing. So, So what are the things to look out for and watch out for when you're getting the survey back?
So number one, see whether the legal description matches with what's listed on your Schedule A. Whether or not the certification is made to the correct proposed insured. That's not as well. See whether there's any encroachments that you need that you were not aware of when the sellers actually say that the sellers actually provide you with the previous survey. And if it's not matching, you have the right to actually question that to see whether or not the land surveying company really did a good job in solving the boundary. If there's any discrepancies on the measurements, like the platted measurements as to the field measurements, you can question that too. see whether there's any encroachments on the fences where the fences are located, on the subject property. If the fence is way too in our, boundary or way out of our boundary, sometimes it could be blown short. Sometimes it might not be accurate. So you have the right to actually question that too. And then see whether there's any unspoken easements or agreements listed on the survey, because often you may think that you own the whole land, but when the survey result comes in, then you realize that someone else has the right to use of a portion of the land. So watch out for those. But technically, whatever it is that we produce on paper, it has to be backed up with recorded documentations. So whatever we put on that drawing must match with what Schedule B is listing, basically. So if you question something about the easement or any easement or any boundary line agreement and all that, you can always ask for a copy of it.
Okay.
Interesting. Yeah. And I think fence lines is probably something that comes up quite a bit. And, as we were talking about early on this particular property, I learned they had just put up this fence. I mean, I don't even know that they were done. And then you guys did the survey and it was 14 feet over on our land. So now we're about to go take the land back. But, yeah, I wouldn't have known otherwise.
I know.
I mean, they thought they did it right, but and then I will say, in all of this, I mean, we have 7.5 acres here, but we're about to build more fence and we're fixing the fence, but doing the POLs, which is it Points
Online. So the boundary lines of the property, they're not feasible, right? Like parking lot. You could see the parking strips easily, so you know where you park your car as a boundary to your car where you park. So not like that with the boundary line. So Points Online is basically reference points, so you could easily and visually able to see where your property lines are. So it is highly recommended if you want to build fence to have that done after you have your boundary survey done.
And every how many feet do you recommend?
It depends how big your lot is, but for the size of your property, you could do 25 feet or 50 feet, even if you don't have neighbors that actually keep on pulling your stakes away. 50 feet would be adequate. So it depends on the lot condition as well.
So to clarify, what you're talking about is when you come out and you have the pins put in with the little flags to mark the line. Is that how you guys do it?
No. So for us to do Points Online, or what we call it POLs, is we use wooden laths.
Okay.
We use wooden lath, and then we put pink fluorescent tape on top of the wooden lath, and we also put 60D nails with whiskers.
Okay.
The 60D nails with whiskers, basically they reference the right on the boundary.
That's great.
The wooden lath is just to basically to highlight people who want to build fence. Hey, there's a 60D nails right here. You place your fence right here.
Yeah.
Basically.
Okay.
Well, obviously you guys know what you're doing, but thank goodness you do the nails as well, because they run over my stakes back here. They're workers.
That's
and
so
they're bent.
Crazy.
Yeah.
But that's so crazy though. I don't. Did they not tell you what they are basing on, like building the fence? Did they have a survey done?
Oh, they went off the corners. But when you have 650 feet to go, you can't really go off the corners, right?
No, because also the thing is, most people think that fences define boundary lines, and that's not correct. Most people think that they can just draw a string from one corner to another, thinking it's a straight line.
Yeah.
It is not. We had a case last month. A lady called wanting to have a boundary survey done. Basically, she got a phone call from Comal County Appraisal District, and she was told that, hey, you need to start paying full property taxes because we saw improvements on your lot. And she was like, I have not even started building yet. I'm planning to build my retirement home, but I didn't get a chance to do it. And then the appraisal district person said, no. We did a drive-by. We definitely saw some improvements there. At least the propane tank is in your property. So she had not visited the property for more than a year. So she went there, and then she saw a house. So she approached us, and she asked us to do a survey. So we had to go to re-verify the boundary 3 times just to make sure that we did it right. We actually established the whole block corner, because when there's an encroachment that serious, we have to make sure that we know, we can that the boundary is absolutely correct, 100% correct. Sure enough, the lot next door placed their mobile home right in between of the 2 lots.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Right in between of the 2 lots.
They didn't have a survey done before placing it?
They did. They actually did.
They did?
No, they did.
Okay.
So this is really interesting.
Okay.
This is now a court case, by the way.
Okay.
They actually did. So the builder said that the seller, the homeowner, told them where to place the mobile home. So they just drew a string from the front to the back, thinking it's a straight line. But when you have a rectangular lot, triangular lot, it's really hard to actually determine where the straight line is.
Yeah.
So consequently, they placed the house right in the middle.
Oh my God.
This is a fully functional house.
I know
live there.
I know what you're talking about, because my lot is an odd shape.
Yes.
And if you go to one side of my house and look down and look at the fence line, that's not actually my property line. The property line kind of goes straight, hits the corner of where the fence is, it meets my neighbors, and then it follows kind of a straight line down the back. So it has like a little tweak right there at the fence.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And a lot of people would probably look at it and go, oh, that's my property.
Yes, that's right.
I see my fence down there.
Even when we do points online, so most people, when we do POLs, whatever they set on the ground, they actually capture that on their data collector. So it gets sent back again to our reviewers and RPLSs to make sure they actually set it, at the right location. So if people say that that's not a straight line,
Yeah.
it might not seem to be a straight line, but it is on your boundary.
Yeah. It's not always straight.
That's how it is.
That's so
definitely when we
interesting.
walk back on this side where there's trees and lots of vegetation, it does not seem straight at all. It is so crazy. But on paper, it is straight.
Yes.
Yeah.
So sometimes just, because of, that's interesting, you're saying a lot of vegetation. Sometimes they really say, your intention is to put the markers every, say, 25 feet. But what if on the 25 feet there's a rock? So you can't actually set it, right? So it might be on the 26 feet. You actually set it. Sometimes it's not right exactly on the 25 feet, but it should be within your boundary line still.
Okay. That's so interesting.
But, yeah.
So we went over a couple of issues that you come across already, but are there any others that we haven't covered so far when you're getting a survey done?
Technical issues would be mostly when there are no monuments or scarce monuments, on the area and on the property, or if the plat is pretty old, that's or illegible, that would be challenging as well. The non-technical issue would be the rain.
Yeah.
And access issues to the exterior. So most homeowners think that we need access inside their home, and they feel that they need to be home. And we always say, no, we don't need access inside, just the exterior of your home. And they think that they have dogs and the dogs might be harmless to them, but it's not to
a stranger coming on the property.
Yeah. So those are the things that actually make us not being able to collect data. But other than that, technical issues would be, the major things would be the pins on monuments.
Okay.
Interesting. Well, I learned a lot.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay, so we already kind of talked about the fences and what you should do before you put one up.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah, do the points online.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
I know I asked you about the flags. Other survey companies sometimes use the flags, right?
Yeah, I don't know how they actually do their practice. I could only speak on behalf of AmeriSurveyors on how we actually perform our points online.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes they do. I see them actually just do the flags. You mean the one with the wire, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they do that sometimes. We use pink flag only if we survey residential homes, like just to locate, just basically a reference marker where the property corner is.
Okay.
But to do points online, you have to use wooden lats, whiskers, and 60D nails. So.
Okay. I like that. Okay, and next question about the fences. What does it mean to have a good neighbor fence?
That could mean two things, actually. So the good neighbors fence, the old-fashioned terms is that your neighbors should have the smooth side of the fence, and the owner would have the pole and the railing, on their side in their yard. But also it means that you have to have a good fence to define your, boundary and as per your boundary, so that there's no disputes between the two neighbors. Although Texas laws do not actually govern or make it compulsory for homeowner to build their fence per the boundary. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah,
that is interesting.
But it's just, but it would actually be so much easier if people just get a boundary survey with points online, so you know where to build the fences.
Mm-hmm.
So when I go to a property and I see the fence going back and forth, typically that's the good neighbor.
Yes.
And that would be right on the property line typically?
Typically. So most builders these days, they actually required the surveying company to actually place wooden lats in the process of building the home.
Mm-hmm.
They place the wooden lats, on the four corners of the property, and they put that as a reference marker to build the fence.
Okay.
So, generally speaking, it should be in the newer subdivision, but in the older subdivision, questionable.
Who knows? That's interesting. I didn't know that about the specific age where that kind of changed a little bit with the stakes, and then, the predictable aspect of those pins. That's interesting to me.
So, quick little tidbit. Westlake Hills, I don't know if it's still this way, but we did a wooden fence in Westlake Hills years ago, and their rule is that you have to give the good side to your neighbor.
Yeah.
Isn't that wild?
No,
you have to do the pretty side to them.
Yes.
You're paying for it.
Yes. That's a good neighbor's fence rule.
So
That's
I know.
how it is.
So what Jenny was saying was that
What?
real estate agents, we think the good neighbor fence, or what we call the good neighbor fence, is when one slat goes one way, the other slat goes the other way. And so you kind of like trade off the good side, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I typically call a good neighbor fence.
But
so we're calling it the wrong thing.
Okay, wait a minute. So you're saying it's perfectly normal to give the neighbor the
smooth
pretty
side. Yes.
the pretty side.
Yes.
Why?
I don't know. I don't know why that is.
When we put up fences, if we're paying for all of it, we give ourselves the good side. Because why should we look at the ugly side when we're paying for it?
That is called good neighbor's fence.
I agree
Apparently.
with that. But apparently.
Apparently, that's a good neighbor's fence. But it's not regulated by law. So it's not really a requirement unless HOA tells you otherwise.
Well, City of Westlake, that was just a strange rule they have that we had to give them that's a rule.
That's enforcing the good neighbors fence rule.
That's where it came from.
Yes, but it's not really. There's no state law for it. So it's
of course Westlake Hills would do that. I think they're the only city that does that.
So there's no really requirements, but a good neighbor's fence, basically the smooth side goes to your neighbor. You could see
that's a very good neighbor.
I'll pay for it, and I'm gonna let you have the pretty side.
There you go. See, many people also think that we as a surveyor could determine that. We don't. We don't actually have the power to tell your neighbor as well, like, hey, that's your fence, you need to fix it. Some people actually would call us and say, my neighbor's fence fall off, and then you guys did a survey 2 years ago. Can you tell my neighbor to fix it?
Oh my gosh.
That's not our job.
So funny.
Man, these fencing problems.
Yeah. I have a quick, really funny fence story. Years ago, we lived in Great Hills, and we made this backyard just gorgeous. Had a pool, and we made it really tropical. We had gone to Mexico quite a bit, and had like beds outside and just tons of tropical plants. And we had a wooden fence in the back, and it was older. Well, one day they started taking. The neighbors behind us started taking the fence down. And we're like, wait a minute, this is our fence too. and then they put up a wrought iron fence between us.
Oh my God.
And then they did all these masonry like posts and wrought iron. I think they wanted to share our view. Oh. Have a view of our backyard. I'm not really sure.
That's strange.
Yeah. So then we went and put a wooden fence up in front of there. I mean,
that's like borderline stalking.
It was very strange.
We like our privacy here. My husband's family's from Kansas, and I mean, they have fencing issues, so a lot of their lots don't have fences at all. But if they do, a lot of times it's wrought iron. So I think it's the strangest thing. I'm like, why do I want to see my neighbors? Like, I don't want to see my neighbors. I want the privacy. But there, it's very normal.
I mean, they look nice, but yeah, they don't provide any privacy.
Did they get mad at you when you?
I mean, they couldn't do anything. We never heard from them. But
I mean, it's in your property.
It was so strange. They didn't like come talk to us and say, this is our plan. Maybe because they knew we would say no way.
Well, I guess the same thing kind of happened to me recently. Our neighbor redid his fence. And maybe I should have gone and say something because he was doing the no and pulling a string. And I left it because I already knew that it was a little bit off. And so I was just like, whatever. And it's like out our driveway. So it's not like it was in the middle of our backyard or something. But he didn't say anything either. Until he got to the point where he knew he was going to be in our backyard where our dog could have gotten into his yard. And then he was like, oh, hey, by the way, I'm sure you've seen, but I'm redoing the fence. Can you keep your dog in?
So funny. Yeah. So one more funny fence story. On my last build in Westlake, I was putting up a fence. It had no, maybe a torn down fence before, but I was putting up a fence, and then it was a renter next door. She came up to me and she said, well, I didn't know you were putting a fence up. And I go, okay, well, I am. So? And she goes, you just took my view. And I was like, view of what? View of the house I just built?
Oh my gosh.
Funny. I was like, okay. But she was very angry. There's nothing resolved.
Sometimes, you know what? Now that you're saying that, the majority of the time, the issues that we are encountering is from the neighbors.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is though. One time, one of our crews actually being followed. I kid you not by one, not by two, seven neighbors. 7 neighbors followed him around when he was locating property corners, and he was like, "I feel uncomfortable."
Yes. So was this a big piece of land that covered a lot of different neighbors? Like, did it have a lot of neighboring properties?
Yeah, I mean, this is in downtown San Antonio.
Okay.
So it's quite a packed neighborhood. And so basically this one neighbor just instigated to say that, we're doing something illegal, and our guys always have like vest, proper vest and all that. And there he was like, please call the office. The lady did call the office. And the one who instigated, it's not even a next door neighbor. She lived like 2 blocks down. Just so happened she saw a survey crew. That's why she gave him a hard time.
That's wild. You know, we say for inspections, sellers do not be home because it's an emotional, but it's also very subjective. One inspector could say something, tons of things, and then another could say really nothing, that the property's fine. But surveys are not like that. They are what they are.
Yes.
So that's very interesting.
Yes, because as I said earlier, we back everything up, with any recorded documentation. So any, easements or part of your the land that you're purchasing is actually going to be used by someone, that's actually based on recorded documentations, not because, I like you, that's why I'm going to put this here. Some people do that because, like I said to you earlier, a real estate agent said, do you see the red lines? Move the fence to the red lines. I said, no. You move the fence to the red lines.
Wow. That's wild. So, although it's not common, what do you see buyers object to during the survey option period or objection period?
The things that will make them change their mind, you mean? Back out of the deals? Or?
Yeah, once they get the survey, we have in our contracts a certain amount of time that they can object to the survey.
That's a very good question. I see this these days, in the last, I think, 7 or 8 months, buyers are more proactive now. They actually order the survey ahead of time. And they instructed, they actually give us instructions not to share the survey with the sellers and all that, right? Because they want to know what they're purchasing. The things that most things that would make them change their mind is if there's any encroachment, if the square footage of the land is actually different from what's listed in the appraisal district, because most of the time people think that the square footage on the appraisal district is a solid yes, that's how it's supposed to be. But what they don't realize is that it's not based on land survey. It's not based on any survey. It's basically, they're using a software to calculate the square footage of the land. So sometimes a land that is actually advertised for a little bit over an acre, once we survey the property, is actually 0.75 only.
Which is a big difference.
So interesting. I really never thought about that because we think about square footages of the actual house.
No.
I don't know about you.
Sometimes can be different.
I don't know about you, but I don't really pay attention to the square footage of the land.
So the square footage of the land is what we're certifying for. The square footage of the house, we don't measure the inside, so we can't do that for you.
Yeah.
We can tell you what the square footage of the exterior of the building, but that's not going to be accurate or the same with what the
appraisers.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So people backed out because of that. Like, you're trying to sell me an acre. Now this is only 0.75.
But the legal description stated way more.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
But that stinks for the person that owns it currently, because that means they've been paying taxes based off of
Good
an
point.
acre or more, and then it's less.
Yes, that is a good point. What I always say to clients who experience that is that this is not a bad news. You can actually go to the appraisal district once you own the property and get tax reduction. Or if you get more land out of it, I see that happen too. It's they think that they own 2 acres, but it's actually 2.5. They can go to the
bright side,
but they won't, because they're gonna have to pay more taxes.
Yeah, exactly.
It happens, or if they see also there is any boundary line agreement that puts them off too sometimes. We had a commercial property that they had a boundary line agreement with the property next door, but it was not recorded. they had a piece of paper, but they didn't actually get that recorded. So when they're about to sell it, they then record it. So it changed the boundary from the last year when we surveyed the property. Now they lost a little bit piece of land on the top. So the buyers backed out because of that.
Wow.
Yeah, it happens.
Get your survey. Pay for your new survey.
Yeah, that's the gist of this whole thing is just really always get a new survey.
Right. The moral of the story. Yeah.
The moral of the story.
And get your pins. I always say
When
pins.
you do a fence.
Yeah.
When you do a
POL.
fence, get POLs. Please get POLs. It's worth it.
Please.
It's really worth it in my opinion.
And you had used lingo. It's RP or the surveyors. What
RPLS. So, okay, the ones who go out and measure your land, they're our survey crew. They are under the direct supervisions of RPLSs. RPLS is registered professional land surveyors. Okay. So their profession is the same like a doctor in our profession. Basically, a survey will not be valid without their seal and signature.
Okay.
So the person on site is not necessarily an RPLS, but then they're sending the data back, and whoever's drafting, and the drafter isn't necessarily, but the final person that puts the stamp on it is the RPL. Okay.
So it goes through all these people to get to them to put the final stamp on it and approve it.
We have a lot of filters going through before we actually produce the finished product. So the RPLS essentially the ones who guaranteeing the survey is good for the next 10 years, provided that there's no changes or updates on the improvements and no changes on the boundary or legal description of the property. So, yeah.
Okay, very interesting. Okay, and so what kind of survey is needed when you are going to buy land and you're looking to build a house on that land? How does it differ from?
Jenny knows this answer. She's like in and out of it. So yeah, you will need a boundary survey first and foremost, so that to locate your property boundaries, as well as to see how much you can actually build on that lot. And after that, then you will need topography. Most subdivisions now require topography entry to be done, but
and topography is the lines on the survey that show
the contour. The study of the contour of how the level of elevations on the subject lot. It's basically helping your architect to build to determine the best area to build on your property. So if you already know if like your property is 7 acres, right, but we don't have to do topography for the whole entire lot to save you money. If you already know where to build, just do it that portion.
I didn't know you could do that.
Now, if it's on a big lot, I mean, this is acreage, so this would be crazy to do it on all the.
That's what
it would be thousands and thousands. But on a lot that's like a third of an acre or even half an acre, I would do the whole thing.
Yes,
because you're gonna be wanting to improve. You're gonna have like just a part of topo, and then you realize, oh, actually, I need it over here because I want to do this.
Yeah,
but
that's right.
On really big lots, like the one in Westlake, I think is an acre and a half, and I feel like I did the whole thing. But
you did the whole thing.
I think I had to actually. Certain cities require, Westlake Hills required that I do the whole thing.
They're also really stringent when it comes to trees too. That's really crazy.
I know, you were surprised, right?
Any species above 3 inches, I was like, what?
Yeah,
I know. We talked about that in another episode where we talked about building in Westlake, and I didn't know this until that episode. And I was amazed.
Most people don't.
Like, I grew up here. I'm from Texas. We don't like cedar trees. We
and
want
hackberries.
to take them down. And hackberries.
Yes.
Especially hackberries, actually.
So, okay. So is it not true then? Because I've heard this. Actually, I heard about this from one of the... somebody at the city of San Antonio actually said this to me. I forgot. If you're a homeowner, you have the right to cut any trees you want. Isn't that not true in city of Westlake Hill?
Absolutely not true. You will get arrested.
No. Interesting.
I mean, I don't know. I'm kidding, but no. There have been harsh punishment.
Probably wild.
What
fines,
is it
right?
fined you or
huge? There have been huge fines that have gone on in the city. There was a pretty, I think, well-off person. This is only one, I'm sure, of very many stories, but just had a bunch of cedar trees taken down years ago. And this is all hearsay, but I think he was fined around $100,000 from the city of Westlake. There's been many lawsuits between the city and homeowners. And I get what they're trying to do, but it's very controlling. But if you drive through Westlake Hills, I mean, it's really pretty and lots of trees, and it wouldn't be that way if they weren't preserving.
Yes.
But there's also, to me, a concern of fire, and if you're way back in the city like that, and there's these little windy roads with trees overgrown, it's not super safe.
No, it's not. No.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really interesting. So that's not true. I'm gonna tell.
Not true for all areas.
This
not
is
at
not
all.
true.
It's regulated by. I would say it's regulated by the city.
Yes.
Because in the city of Austin, that's very much not true. They're very protective. I mean, their rules are much less strict because it's 19 inches and bigger, and also cedars. I don't think they have any rules around cedar trees or hackberries.
So, city of Austin is pretty much the same as city of San Antonio when it comes to the ordinance of trees that we have to depict. So it's not difficult. What I was surprised was city of Westlake. I'm like, are you kidding me?
But city of Austin, they love their trees too. I mean, when I built there, we had to air spade around roots of trees, which is you dig with air. It is very expensive.
You dig with
air with like a compressor and a hose, and they have to dig around the roots. It's very expensive, and the tree could be old and not a great, like for instance, I had to do it around a pecan tree. And the tree guy from the city was out there overseeing all these steps to make sure that I protected that tree. So, every city has its things.
That's
and
so interesting.
City of Westlake is very much it's trees.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I'm going to come back with so much updates for my team.
But that's why I really like the county. If you build in just the county where it doesn't have, like this is not in the city of Dripping Springs. This is just in the county. There's not as many rules, and I like it so much better.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes.
Is it... are they really approachable as well, or not?
It was great building in the county. It's typically great if you don't have an overlay of a city. I prefer that.
Oh, wow.
And there's areas of Westlake, like for instance, in Eanes School Road, right across the street. It is not in the city of Westlake. It is not in any city. It is just in the county. Yeah. So when across the street. So when we first bought the lot, the inspector was like, "Oh, I don't see this on our docket. It's not in our city." And I said, "Well, I really like what you're saying here, but I don't think that's accurate. So please look again.
Don't get me in trouble here."
Oh my God! But if you were misinformed like that, I'm surely that wasn't your fault.
I would love to go forward with some verbal of what somebody said, but no, I would get in a lot of trouble.
Just spend more money.
But you've got a lot of experiences now, so that you know exactly what to do. So you pretty much had built in Hays County, right? This is Hays, right?
Yeah.
And then Travis.
Yeah, that's it.
With Travis County.
Yes, I love building directly with Travis County in no city. Yeah. For instance, the last house I built in Westlake, it was close in, but not in the city. It was just in the county, and we had this tree. And another surveyor. This is another thing that is really important about surveyors. They are not equal by far. There were so many wrong. The trees were wrong on the survey.
Okay.
And there was this gorgeous oak tree, and I wanted to save it. But once we put the forms up, it was right on the forms, and the survey did not depict that. And it was not you guys.
No, but was it with the you had a tree survey done already?
I did. That was from a tree survey. So
okay,
I don't know. I know there was topo that was wrong. There were trees that were wrong. So as a builder, those things are really hard.
Crucial.
They are very crucial and hard to deal with. And again, it was not your survey company. It was another surveyor. But I learned the hard way how surveyors are really different.
But if we do make a mistake, I know that we are not the ones who would shy away and then wash our hands.
Absolutely.
And not wanting to be responsible.
Yeah.
We always said, okay, I'm going to send someone tomorrow.
Yeah, totally. So, but how this played out was the tree was wrong on the survey. So what happened once I got the forms up for the foundation, the tree was pretty much right on the form. And I called the engineer and he was like, oh, no, you have to take that tree. And I knew it was just too close to the house. And so I got my excavator and we took the tree. And it was a gorgeous oak tree. It was not a heritage or anything like that, but it was beautiful. And I wanted to keep it. And had I known, maybe I would have built had the house jut in a little bit to save the tree. I don't know. But had I been in the city of Westlake, it would have been a protected tree because their protected trees are 14 inches versus city of Austin's 19. So I would have had to stop the entire build. I would have had to go to the city. Number one, I probably would have had to change my plans.
Yes.
It already done, already permitted, but change them.
Yes.
Which would have delayed my build by months to have to change plans and then start, fix that area. But because I was in the county, I was able to just get someone out there, take the tree, continue the build.
Oh, wow.
So.
But the city of Westlake will not.
No, I would have had to stop everything. I would have had to change the layout, which triggered, you change something here and it triggers something throughout the whole, I think it was the garage, but then the garage wouldn't have been right. So it would have just affected everything. So,
oh my gosh,
mistakes like that really cost a lot.
See, so I'm going to have to have a talk the next team meeting. We just had a team meeting last week. About this because our RPLS has really relied on our survey crews to be as detailed and as accurate. So that's why we constantly sharpen up our knowledge, making sure that everybody is, everybody's equipment is up to par. Make sure everybody is actually well equipped as well as knowledgeable in doing their job. Often mistakes like that happened. The most important thing is what do we do to avoid that from happening? And then if it really did happen, what do we do for our customers? That's really important. What did they do, by the way?
Oh, the survey company? Absolutely nothing. I mean, what? Well, they don't have my business anymore.
Oh.
No, and I don't even think I went back to the surveyor. But it was just very complicated because in excavating and setting the forms, and having the topo off, and it added a lot of complications.
Oh,
so.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that's just by one tree.
One tree.
Yeah. Well, topo was off as well. That did not help.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah.
Wow. The ins and outs of surveys.
Yes. So much to know. I feel like it's just part of the process that is so underlooked and underappreciated. And, a lot of people just see it at the end at closing and don't really know what they're looking at. And, most agents are not super knowledgeable. No, I mean, I am very knowledgeable, but look at all I didn't know today.
Yeah.
But that's true, though. As I said earlier, that, unfortunately, most people see it just as a piece of paper. Just the same way with title commitment. You have no idea how valuable that title commitment is.
Yes. Until there's a problem.
But that's why we as a company, we're really, really big on educating our clients. Make sure we are knowledgeable, to provide our, services and to produce our product. I think that's really, really, important. And we constantly learning. And throughout the time that I actually do classes, I cannot tell you how many times that when I ask a question to the agents, okay, what's on Schedule A? And it's like crickets. You should know this.
Yeah.
What's on Schedule B? The crickets again. So yes, it's I think like you said, it's underlooked, but yeah.
For your biggest investment, it should be a bigger part of the conversation.
Yes.
And I think sometimes it is partly to do with title. I don't know how often you've seen this, but I've seen a lot of times, here's your title commitment. You don't need to do anything. You can look over it. Nothing is needed from you. And if that's what we're putting out there to our clients, then of course they're not going to feel like it's all that important.
That's right.
So I think we have to kind of shed a different light on it and say, here's why you have to pay attention to this and why it is important to you.
But sometimes, some buyers only interested in knowing how good the condition of the house is. So they only worried about the physical feature of the house. They're not worried about this, little. For them, it's little things, but for us, it's actually a big thing. So if the house is built on the wrong lot, you wouldn't be able to move in, right? We have had a case where, we were hired on the title commitment to survey lot 17. And when we went there, Google said that lot 17 address on the appraisal district is actually on the other side of the corner. And comes to find out that the rightful owner of lot 17 has never lived in lot 17. He actually lives in lot 22.
Oh my gosh.
So there were 2 simultaneous conveyances in 1985 and someone made an error, so flipped the record. So ever since, each property owners never lived in their rightful house.
What did they do? Trade houses?
So just imagine, and this is a real case that I had the pleasure to deal with. And the real estate agent absolutely screaming at me saying that you're delaying my closing. And I said, I'm asking you, where is this property owner lives? And he said, he lives on lot 22. Yeah, right. But the job order from the title commitment says I need to survey lot 17. I'm not supposed to actually mention the address. So he actually told me the address of the property. And I said, no, but the house number 224 is the one that I need to survey, not 203. And he said, I'm telling you, the property owner lives in 203.
Oh my goodness.
What a mess.
And I had people stayed in Holiday Inn ready to move in because most of the times survey is the last thing that they ordered.
Yes. And then those survey companies don't take a couple days like you guys. They take a couple weeks. Yeah. And so, yes, oftentimes it's like I've had them come in like 24 hours before closing.
So that happened in 2019 before COVID hit. And it just finalized 2021.
So pay attention to your survey
this
and
is
the title commitments.
This is a standard home, like lot and block. And it happens sometimes. So everything could be great with the home, but you'll never know.
I agree with what you said at the very beginning. Knowledge is power.
Yes.
So,
and I love that you say you're always learning. I mean, you're super knowledgeable, but I just love the mindset of just always learning. I think we're the same way, but just always trying to get better and learn.
Yeah.
So, but I've loved working with you guys. I'm so glad I found you, and it's just been a great experience. And
we are grateful for your business and the business that you're bringing us. Definitely, our crew said you are one of the nicest homeowners. I learned so much today, and I really enjoyed this chat. And I really hope that we can continue our business working together
course.
And if there's any questions or any concerns, anyone can reach out to me.
Okay. Will you share where people can find you on social media or how to contact you? And we can include it in the show notes too.
Please follow us on TikTok, AmeriWarriors. Okay. That's us. Instagram, it would be AmeriSurveyors. Okay. And of course, you can also go to our website, www.amerisurveyors.com.
Okay.
So for more info.
And we will put all of that in notes and details.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. Thank you for coming on. This was great.
It's been fun.
Thanks for joining us today. If you have a real estate question you'd like for us to answer, all of our contact information is in the show notes. If you aren't in the Austin area and need to be connected with a real estate professional where you are, we can help with that too. So send us a message.
We're located in the Austin area and licensed in Texas under Realty Austin. While some of this information could apply to where you live, be sure and talk to a local agent in your area. Visit the show notes for more information and additional disclosures.